We have covered so far Mimamsa philosophy, Vedanta philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and Jainism. So out of these, two are orthodox, two are heterodox. The next ones are Sankhya and Yoga. So that we complete the 6 philosophical systems. But today we will not do the Sankhya and Yoga. There was something else, because I want to continue with Sankhya and Yoga and then Yoga Sutra. It will make a little bit easier transition. So we break this flow to experience or to understand one more very important facet into the philosophy is the Koshas. Very well known. Any book, any teacher's training course, they describe about the Kosha theory, just like any other philosophical systems. Now, from the beginning, we have to clarify that where does this idea of Koshas come from? Whether this is only one way of understanding or there are many other ways. So for general understanding, the Koshas are mainly a Vedantic formulation, concept, framework, which is explained in an Upanishad which is called Taittiriya Upanishad. And the Taittiriya Upanishad is completely dedicated to the various layers of the personality or the framework. And these, all the concepts that are, I will write the Taittiriya Upanishad. So for your reference, in this whole Upanishad, there is a discussion on exploring these various layers of our being. Just to connect with the other subjects which you are already familiar with, we take this, this is like a map of human being and human personality and behavior and his attitudes and everything. So we already have some other frameworks, other maps in Sankhya philosophy, which is quite old. I think this is the oldest one. And in Sankhya philosophy, this formulation of personality is based on these 2 principles you are already familiar with, Purusha and Prakriti, where there is pure consciousness and matter. And when they meet, it's like this Big Bang theory or a similar kind of concept here, that when this Purusha and Prakriti comes into contact with each other, there is creation or evolution. So Sankhya philosophy is very popular because it has given this whole idea of theory of evolution and how does everything is created. So all these elements, senses, mind, and in contact with consciousness, they all start to operate. So in this framework, there is consciousness and there is matter, and then there is an interplay between these two, and this is how everything is created. So this is one framework, one way of understanding evolution. And it is more in sync with yogic philosophy, because yoga philosophy is taking or borrowing all these concepts freely from Sankhya. We will have more discussions on it when we are discussing Sankhya philosophy separately in the next class. But for now, I'm just giving you a reference that when we are talking about koshas, then they just don't come out of somewhere. They are in the same way that is already available in different philosophical systems. Another framework that is available is the chakra system. So right from the survival instincts, biological needs to the enlightenment. So Muladhara chakra to the Sahasrara chakra, there is a evolution of consciousness from instinct of survival, procreation, power, love and belonging, expression, and clairvoyance or intuition, and then finally connecting and merging into the infinite, or according to this is called Sahasrara chakra, which is connecting again to the infinite or absolute consciousness. Depending on which school, which thought we are influenced, we describe all those things in that context. Mainly these are the 2, 3. There are many other frameworks are also available. So this is one format. Now Vedanta gives a different way of understanding of personality, of behavior, and according to Vedanta, they say that we are these Panch-Koshas, the 5 seeds that we are. Panch-Koshas. So Panch-Kosha means 5 seeds, and this discussion in Taittiriya Upanishad is given that there is a boy, his name is Bhrigu, and his father is the teacher is Varuna. So the most of the Upanishads always have this way of teaching that they are in the form of dialogue between teacher and the disciple, where the teachings are given in a successive or in a progressive manner, where the question is asked by the seeker and the answer is not given directly, but then there are steps they have shown to understand and experience the whatever the question is. According to that, finally all Upanishads are tend to explain about the Brahman or the absolute consciousness and how we are that. So all those discussions we have, that I am that, everything is consciousness, all is Brahman. This is the ultimate experience, ultimate learning, but the methods, processes depends on which Upanishad we are talking. And in Taittiriya Upanishad, the main discussion is about the progression or the succession of explanation of the Brahman ultimately. But in that process, they have given a very beautiful framework to understand the human behavior and personality. So as usual, the Bhrigu, who is a young boy, comes and talks about what is Brahman. This is the main question always they ask. And his father says that you go and meditate and then let me know what do you think what is Brahman. And this boy, Bhrigu, goes and meditates, and then he comes back and he says that we are body. Whatever is there is made of the food. Very interesting perspective they have started, and it is not denied by the teacher. He says that very good, but do you think it is only food? Then he says, okay, go and meditate again. And then he goes and meditates again. And the next thing that he discovers is, oh no, this is not the food only, because behind this food, where does this food come from? Ah, there is something else behind it. It is energy. It is prana. Okay, so then I am this body, and or this Brahman is the body which I am having here, and then prana associated. Then he further continues to this discussion, and we have all these 5 koshas in it. At the same time, they also give a framework of the 3 bodies. Don't be confused, but just because it will be much easier to understand the concept of the gross body, subtle body, and causal body. Along with the koshas, it will make it much easier to understand. Otherwise, it will be quite confusing. So, in this scheme of presentation, whatever is gross, whatever is physical, means are all the systems of the body, the structure of the body, bones, cells, tissues, everything that is gross in the nature is part of the gross body or sthul sharira. This is one layer of our being. So in this framework, we have 2 things I am explaining simultaneously. One is 3 bodies: gross body, subtle body, causal body. Now this gross body is attached to the food sheath. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha is this gross body. Subtle body is connected because it is subtler, it is invisible, and then it goes to the another 2 koshas. They are after annamaya, pranamaya, it is manomaya and vijnanamaya koshas. And this is connected to the subtle body. And then third cause of it means everything that is caused is coming from the causal body, third layer of our being, and only the Anandamaya kosha is associated with it. Makes it much easier. 3 bodies, gross, subtle, and causal. From the gross, Annamaya and Pranamaya kosha are connected, where physical systems, elements, Ayurvedic, according to Ayurveda, the doshas, we can bring all that to the gross body or Annamaya kosha. Then second part of it goes to the Pranamaya kosha, which includes the vayus, all the 5 vayus, main and 5 sub-vayus, and chakras and nadis, everything is associated with the Pranamaya kosha. Then third layer, which is subtler now, the Sukshma Sarira or the subtle body is connected to Manomaya kosha, means emotions, the lower mind, feelings, everything is associated here. And the next one is wisdom body, and with intellectual body, it comes into the Vijnanamaya kosha, which is making the things a little more subtler and subtler. And the last one is Anandamaya kosha, the bliss body or the bliss seeds. It is the causal body. So now these are the frameworks that we have in the Taittiriya Upanishad, or when we are understanding these. So I'll go on each one separately. I'm not very sure if I will be able to finish this, but I will try to be in time. So, so this is one framework we have understood. This is how we are going to see this whole thing, the whole journey. Now, according to the koshas that we have, now what is the need for it from the yogic perspective? How it is helpful for us? Now, I'll give you a few points, because without it, when we read the Upanishad, and if we are not very much sure what this learning and understanding will bring, then it's really boring. But yes, definitely when you are understanding everything with intensity and you are focused and you are sure already what is going to come, then it's much easier. Otherwise, when we start read Upanishad, there are chances that many of the people start to fall asleep. But when we have the clarity, what is this idea? From the practical point of view, I brought this idea first rather than taking it at the end in order to connect it better. So the koshas are mainly, they are giving us a framework to understand the body, mind, and spirit. So key concept of the koshas is to open this whole new phenomenon to us. And the chances in spirituality, this is where the main thing is, that when we start to go into all of the Upanishadic learning and all, the koshas give us the understanding that we are multifaceted beings. This is a very, very important step. There is a wholeness, there is a concept of wholeness. That either we are identified with only with one facet of our personality. And if we get excessively obsessive or limited, we are a multifaceted being, but we only attach or identify ourselves with one part of our personality, it is quite damaging. Or it's not using the full potential of our possibilities that we may have. So they are a reminder that we are multifaceted beings. Means when we are meeting or approaching any sort of spiritual quest, we should not limit ourselves only to the one dimension. If we look into the discussion in this Taittiriya Upanishad, we find it very, very clearly that when Bhrigu comes and says that I am this body, Varuna does not say that you are wrong. He said, very good. Somewhere I heard that they say, what is body? What is this human being? The human being is rearrangement of the food. If I am, how I look and how I present myself, whatever is there, it is nothing but food and how it is rearranged. So even when we are studying this Taittiriya Upanishad, this misunderstanding is clear from the beginning that you are not merely the physical body. Also, do not take it as something inferior. We are multi-dimensional beings and we need to see everything in totality. Then another understanding from the koshas we get is that everything that manifests into our life, gross or subtle, like the disease or health or illness, anything, it starts at the subtler level. Means if I am healthy, then it's not that merely this gross part is healthy. At the inner parts of me or the subtler parts of myself are also in harmony. They are constantly working towards harmony. And if the imbalance begins there, if imbalance happens in that subtler level, disease will manifest. Very beautiful framework for the therapy point of view. From health point of view is also in it. That you are a multifaceted being and you are not merely the expression. This expression is coming from your subtler levels. And this is how the subtle body comes into the understanding. If we are having any issue with our subtle body, especially the Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha, it will result into the disease on the Annamaya and Pranamaya Kosha. Perhaps if we are growing this much knowledge or research or understanding on the food these days, or the gross aspects of all the medicine is based on that, the modern medicine is also going towards the same understanding ultimately, that we have to see the things from the subtler point of views. If you have the fever today, if you have the cough or cold today, then it must have initiated at the subtler level, which we as a practitioners of yoga can very clearly see and understand. A simple example which I always like to refer is the cold, common cold. The common cold is an expression of the inner or subtler disturbance at the Manomaya Kosha. A lot of people sometimes ask whether asthma is a disease. Last week somebody asked that if asthma is a disease, then it is not. It is a condition of imbalance at the Manomaya Kosha, very clear. And if we can correct that, then this asthma can be corrected by itself. Means we don't need to do much about this. If we can correct the subtler aspect, the Manomaya Kosha, where the problem has started. If there is a suffocation, suppression of emotions at an early age, and you are not allowed, or you have the fear, then this person is bound to get the sinusitis or asthma or frequent cough and cold, which may sometimes reoccur at the age of maybe 45 or 50 or 55 or anywhere else. Can be 35 too. That nothing is there, there is no sign, everything is great. But now when you are free and you feel like, okay, great, now I'm ready to enjoy my life, and then you get it. Why? When you were so busy doing all stuff, collecting everything in your life, there was no problem, there was no asthma. Not like it was not there at all, but it was not visible. This is the understanding. If anything has happened today, it has happened at the subtler level, and this is what we understand from the Koshas theory. The Koshas are very clear on the subtle bodies and what changes may happen at that level that will come into manifestation of the physical body. Third aspect of it is to understand that reminder of final destination. They have said there is a gross body and you can, you are from the beginning, the idea is you are multifaceted being, not saying any negative or devaluing the gross aspects. So the idea is both here. You must appreciate the gross aspect, means your gross body. You must take care of it, the energy body and the gross physical body. At the same time, the Manomaya Kosha and your Vijnanamaya Kosha. At the same time, not forgetting the ultimate destination, that is to be Brahman. By touching this facet of our being, which is blissful. This is the another understanding that we get from the koshas, that whenever koshas are discussed, we do not limit to the Annamaya Kosha or Pranamaya Kosha. They can be very useful from the physical point of view or practical point of view. But we must not forget that all these koshas are illumined or expressed because there is something else behind it, that is Brahma. Sat, Chit and Anand. In Taittiriya Upanishad, same idea. So, when we are seeing this kosha theory, then we get this clarity about multifaceted beings, and we are having this health and illness which comes from the subtler level, and the last one is to remember the ultimate cause of it, and that is the causal body, which is all together is this human being. So it is a map of understanding the emotions, thoughts, energies, and the gross physical bodies. According to this kosha theory, we have this model, and in this model, we understand that a human being is not limited to the one part of it. Now the Annamaya Kosha, if we see it in a little bit depth, then we can see that these koshas are showing us the various aspects of our being. Now, in Eastern perspectives, we have a very, about body, we are quite ambivalent. We are very, sometimes you can say, confused. Or sometimes when we start to look, even from a very higher perspective, but then we get something and it's like a baby or somebody who wants to go for hiking and see some beautiful sunrise, but on the way they find a beautiful spot and they take pictures there and the sunrise has happened there. Do you remember that story? If you have ever reached there. In India, you come to Punjapuri temple and then you go and take pictures there. But sometimes, people say, oh, stop here. This is so beautiful. This is so nice. And if you spend the time there, the sunrise happens there already. So in this way, we are supposed to remember that ultimately, so if I want to have this view to sunrise, and if I find a good spot for the pictures on the way, then you miss that phenomenal beauty that you can experience by seeing this. However, going there is not easy. Like it's too early in the morning, you wake up, and then there are so many constraints that you have to go through in order to enjoy that beauty. Similar thing has happened with the body, and in one aspect, when people get so much identified with the body, because that is the only thing that I can see and touch and feel, then I completely lose awareness of the other aspects of being. So both possibilities, both things are there. So it is ambivalent approach. But if we see the body from Annamaya Kosha, then we see that there are few beautiful things from the very physical point of view are also there in the body. First of all, it has a wonderful community and cooperation in it. When we look at our body, it is so amazing mechanism in which we can see that there are various parts, but they are all synchronized. There is so much synchronicity in the system. There is so much cooperation. Suppose if you start to run, then immediately your nervous system says that you need to pump the blood faster, so heart start to leave other works and then has to pump the blood faster. Now, if you are very sad and gloomy and you say, oh my God, my day is so bad, and suddenly you see the fire, you forget all that, unless you are really depressed that I want to burn myself in this fire. You will run and you will get the energy for that. From where? Because there is so great communication, cooperation, and you have all that flux of energy. It's coming from the source. It's beautiful phenomenon. Optimization, adaptation. You come to Rishikesh and you see, oh my God, how can I sleep? Because all night there are so many sounds nearby. And in this, you start to adapt. And you adapt so much, you go back home and say, there was no cow, there was no monkey, and there was no dogs barking. I could not sleep after I came back home. I'm so sad I miss Rishikesh because there is no disturbance in my sleep. So adaptation can be of this, any extreme, any kind of possibility. We go and settle down there. This is happening automatically. You don't have to do much with your internal functions in the body. And energy and intelligence. Body is so honest, intelligent, giving signals all the time. All the time the body is able to send the messages and the cues for your reference that, okay, now this is the situation. What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? So it's a wonderful, system. And as I always say, is that anything that you put inside the body, then you don't have to tell, okay, how do you deal with it? You put meat inside it. Okay, the body says, thanks, master, whatever you have given, I will do my best. And your body does best to digest it. If you do the fasting, and you are not giving any food, and the body cells are waiting, please give something, and then, okay, then you send the message, I am on fasting for then is 36 hours today and I will not provide you any food. And then you get, oh my God, there's no food? Fine. I will supply the energy from the storehouse. So as many hours that you have decided, 24 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, you get the abundance of energy. After a few hiccups, for sure, it's not that easy. So in that sense, we see this, all the beautiful things happens in the body. But not forgetting that this physical body is seen as a consequence of the subtle energy that is provided. In this context, the Eastern perspective or the Vedantic or yogic perspectives are so clear. They give two approaches. Actually, the approach is the same. They say the body is great. The body is wonderful. And the sentence that I'll read for you is when he comes back, the Bhrigu comes back, oh wonderful, I am food. This is how Bhrigu is saying, the food is that I am food. And this body is that carrier or that rearrangement of whatever you have provided to this body. Now, the two approaches comes. One says that this is a beautiful, the body is like the temple. Sarira madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam, that the body is the temple. I am the food. Take care of it because it is nothing but Brahma. Remember this. We go back always, referral point. if we forget the referral point, then there is a problem. If I say I am the food and then I don't know what is the referral point, then I could be wrong and I could destroy myself in this process. But the referral point is said that I am this food which is nothing but Brahman. In the Bhagavad Gita, this Brahmarpan, in which chapter this verse is? Somewhere I have forgotten. There are a few prayers that we see. I think in third chapter, third or fourth chapter, there is a discussion. I think we have done when we were talking about the Mimamsa philosophy. Ritual, yeah. I just connect you to remember there that ritual from 24 to 32, you will find this reference. Again, I remind you, the reminder is that the food that you are eating is offering to the Brahman. Means the food is Brahman and you are offering it to the Brahman again. So this whole verse on this offering of food is again reminder to that. Then there could be a negative approach to it, that you can say that why to like this, what is this body? This body is nothing. In Shankaracharya, in the commentary of Taittiriya Upanishad also has said the same this, oh stop, oh fool, you stop identifying yourself with the lump of skin, flesh, fat, bones and filth. What is this body? This body is nothing or not other than this, all the dirt, all the impurity. Because whatever the food that you take, it's so beautiful, you take selfies with it, and the moment it travels down the gullet, it becomes foul. If you take your food out, you yourself cannot smell it. Same food converts into the total filth, total, waste, and so dirty. And there are many. Now it depends on which thought you are identifying with. That's why I said about body, we are quite illusioned. We don't know exactly which approach to take, because when we take one approach, oh, I am the food, and then you say, oh, in your introduction on maybe on Instagram, and I'm a foodie, right? This is how it is said, foodie, F-O-O-D-I-E. Oh, I'm foodie. Means I love food. I'm foodie. I eat everything. Then it becomes a problem. Oh, I love everything. I can eat everything. So where we have to put this, this line or this, don't get the word, how to say it, limitation, or you are understanding what I'm saying. Sorry. That we have to be aware. I am a foodie, and then I don't care of this body. This is what this body is. I am Brahman. So I go into that direction and totally having so many diseases, diabetes, heart problems, indigestion. And then in meditation, you see this kind of foodies when they go to Vipassana. Oh my God, so disturbing. You can't enjoy meditation because in the hall, 100 people are sitting and somebody is burping, somebody is farting, somebody is snoring, all results of it. Depends on how you are approaching this, you have that. So again, coming back to this, that this Annamaya Kosha is nothing but expression of the Brahman. Through this, everything that you eat is Brahman. who is eating is Brahman. So everything is Brahman, then it is so sacred. And if it is when we bring the idea of sacred into it, then we cannot be insensitive, isn't it? And I think this is a good point for the vegans, because the moment you are sensitive, you are full of life. Then you are very careful to what to eat, because in this Brahman, what is palatable to the Brahman? It is like you prepare something to someone who is beloved to you, like the baby. You know how much care we take when we are making any food for the baby. So much care. However, in that context of care, you know, we bombard the child with so much nonsense also. It depends on the sensitivity again. If the parent is sensitive, then we'll choose the most refined, easy to digest, and palatable, tasty, looks green, nice, that which makes your Anandamaya Kosha into the Anand. So Annamaya Kosha is not merely to this gross, but you are also offering it to your Anandamaya Kosha. So when it brings Ananda, bliss inside, that food, that kind of sensitivity. So then we again have to see that if I am identifying myself with this or not. And same in the Upanishads, they have said that how can they attain liberation if they torture the body when the life force exists within this body? Again, because I have to take more time, so many issues, body image issues, number of eating disorders, there are so many issues that we are actually carrying into our lives only because of the wrong ideas or understanding about our food sheets and how we can correct that. And it is, I think, the Annamaya Kosha gives a very body positive orientation. Not in that sense, and not going definitely to that another industry that we have, cosmetic surgeries and all those, you know, where we are then again making this cruel joke with our body by doing many kinds of changes, undesirable for this natural body, and we do treatments and we do surgeries and we want to put ourselves into a certain shape. Understand this ambivalent approach. One side, I'm totally ignorant and I'm not taking care of it, not exercising, not looking at what do I eat. All the time, the hands and the mouth, they are in constant unconscious communication. Not knowing what is going in and what is coming out. Of course, we don't see it because it doesn't come out for many days for so many people. So every day, taking this feedback that what goes in and what comes out, if there is a proper input and output relationship in this or not. If that is not there, then we must be alarmed. And this is exactly what, and opposite, where we completely get identified and all the time totally into this external identification. That is also not helpful, which both of the, why this is important, because I don't know, we have not counted, but I guess that a large part of our issues can be corrected by correcting Annamaya Kosha problems or correcting the food. it is, there are many studies that they have shown. Maybe one day Emily has enough time to explain that, but the study shows that if you change the food, and in Vedas, Upanishads, and the number of stories where they have seen, okay, I have had this food, and the result was that it corrupted my mental processing, cognition, and all that. So researches are going. Few researches I remember, they say that these jubilant delinquencies, the kids who does this crime or so many things as adolescents, when they were kept on sattvic diets, a number of positive changes happened into their behavior and thinking. Means that the food can go and affect up to the intellectual aspect, emotional aspect. ADHD, perhaps this is one of the most frequent examples that people see, that how ADHD is a condition which can be controlled or corrected by changing the food only. If you have extreme vata producing food, it will make you ADHD anyway. If you are already a vata dominated person, and if you have this vata producing food, then you are in this crazy state of your mind. And if you change that food to the lubrication and vata pacifying food, the thoughts also start to pacify. So from the Ayurvedic doshas point of view is also correct. Then another understanding that they have given in the in this is that the doshas, the Ayurvedic doshas, in 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These are the 5 elements, and these elements are directly communicating with our Annamaya Kosha, representing our, because they are the basis of our gross physical body. So when our doshas are balanced in Ayurvedic literature, there is so much written about it, and they say that if you want to be healthy, then your doshas are balanced. And what they mean by that balanced doshas, then all the conditions as given, and in that they have said that your mind is also in a happy state. So when we are saying doshas, then also we don't limit ourselves to the only vata, pitta, and kapha dosha classifying or disturbing foods, but it goes and helps into the mental states also in the Ayurvedic concepts also. The next aspect is Prana Kosha. Very close to it, because the food is digested. You just provide that food, but that cannot be used by your body until it is transformed in such a form that body can make use of it. Directly in that form which is provided, it cannot be useful for us. It must be transformed into a usable form, and that is done by the Prana Kosha. That is the subtle processes. So prana is that, okay, you have received the food from all the sources, all the energy that you have received. Then whatever you have received must be transformed into a usable form. So that goes to the digestion. Samana prana will take care of it. After it is coming into the stomach, then samana prana is functional. And when this samana prana is functional, it will be taking care of all those food that you have provided and transforming it, changing it to various kinds of juices. So all that process will happen here in this level, in Pranamaya Kosha. So this Pranamaya Kosha, in the same scheme of developments when this young boy Bhrigu goes and then he meditates and then he find out, oh my God, the breath is life. That everything that I have is breathing in and out, in and out. What is this? Then it is Brahma. Very, very important step to this whole understanding of extension of the life force. Because in this physical body, in the gross body, if we have to transform these things into usable form, then this force is needed. Pranic force is needed. And it is very important step for developing the understanding of our deeper dimensions. Now, this prana, so received, then transformed. Now, whatever is transformed need to be transported. So you transport the energy from one system, from your this digestion system to every system. So energy that is created need to be transported after this transformation has happened. All this transformation, again, this Prana Kosha is engaged. In this transformation, circulation will happen. And the circulation happens with the help of the breaths. Now, another very important step where people are feeling down, lack of energy, exhausted, then somewhere this Pranamaya Kosha need fuel. And this Pranamaya Kosha is that which is making best use of the energy that you have taken. So transform, transport, and then eliminate the waste. So in this process, all the waste is also removed. All this work is happening in the Apana Prana. So this transportation, has happened into the whole body, which is Vyana Prana, means every single tissue, cell, end points of the body are also receiving up to the nails. That we get the energy, and that's how we see the nails are growing. I think there are a number of theories about that. By seeing the nails, they can say, okay, your health is good or not. Because nothing, the nails are not something waste that we cut every week, but there is something which is showing, though it looks quite dead, and even if you cut, there is no feeling into it. But it is all expression of the prana, that how it is reaching up to that level. So Pranamaya Kosha is doing that sensitive work up to the hairs, or maybe if they are not growing, then I don't know what is happening. And then the further thing that is connected to this Pranamaya Kosha is then chakras and the nadis. So then we see that the nadis, so the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna nadis are the, they are the vehicles. Through those nadis, this prana is evenly spread through the body, and that's where this pranic body has a spiritual significance coming into. Because when we are talking about these pranas, then these pranas need to be channeled into the desired direction. See, the prana is anyway channeling, even if you are not doing anything. So wherever there is a hole, it will flow towards that. So natural openings, it will definitely, the prana will be available. But remembering, because we don't forget the reminder of final destination, that what is this seeds about? What is this Pranamaya Kosha about? It is it is in this whole scheme of presentation, it's a step towards what? Something higher. So then the Ida, Pingala and Sushumna Nadis come into the existence, and they show this whole understanding of the prana and then how to channel this prana, and that's where the pranayam and the other breathing practices come into the existence. Sorry, I forgot to mention anything about the asanas when it comes to the Annamaya Kosha, but it is so obvious that asanas are directly working with the Annamaya Kosha. And then when it comes to the pranayam and breathing practices and nadis and chakras, these are all the systems through which we can understand. And of course, the disease and all kinds of the problems related to the energy comes, then the chakras and nadis comes into the existence. There are many therapeutical systems like acupuncture. Acupuncture is nothing but only focusing on correcting the flow of prana. When there is a blockage into that, they say it is the, what do you call it? I forgot the name. In place of meridians, yeah. In the meridians, when there is a blockage into the prana, and it is not reaching to the higher dimensions or in a free flow, then okay, we use these needles and they know what are the pathways to the prana, and with the knowledge of that the prana flows, the chi flows in this particular dimension, and when this flows in this particular dimension, and if there is a blockage, then where it will be. So there are a number of pressure points. Even acupressure is also the same thing, where we press those points, and if there is an imbalance, then that part is painful. If there is an intense shooting pain, then they say, okay, this is where now corresponding to that part where you have felt the pain, you correspond to that organ, spleen, liver, or intestines. If there is they find out, okay, this is the point and you have the pain here, or your digestion is not well, or you have the headache, or you have not slept well. So it depends on all these connections of meridians. They have established this relationship with the observations of the Prana Kosha, and then correcting it. So correcting the flow of prana or chi, and I think you all know Kung Fu Panda. So that Kung Fu Panda, and that then finding that inner peace, I think that is the Anandamaya Kosha. So in that same presentation, we see the Pranamaya Kosha also. So all the survival, procreation, personal power, unconditional love, expression of the speech, insight, wisdom, unity and freedom. This is the gradual development of our koshas, the chakras that we see in this gradual manner. That if they are functional in this dimension, then the prana is reaching to the higher dimensions, and then the focus goes on the next step, and that is here. This is the gross body we have discussed. Now it comes to Sukshma Sharira, or the mind. So what is mind here? The subtle body. It is the Chitta, Buddhi, Manas, and Ahamkara, means ego. So I will write down for your reference again. So I'll write it in this order, starting from the Ahamkara, then goes to the mind, and then goes to Buddhi. Oh, sorry, the sequence is that mind is before Ahamkara. So first mind, then ahankar, then buddhi, then chitta. Yeah. So chitta is, we see it from both sides. So chitta is the, chitta can be the range of chitta. The range of chitta can be understood right from the gross. So we also include everything, physical body and so sense organs, the senses, to the mind, to the ego, to the buddhi, and to the chitta. Everything comes into the chitta. And chitta is that which is, everything is referring back to chitta. Now remember, this is where the Sukshma Sharira means the subtle body, means all the impressions of the karmas that we make. And this karma is referring to this chitta. And that's where the things will go and be in the chitta, and then it will be transmigrated further. Okay? So it's a very general term for the consciousness. Of course, all these things are matter. Even chitta is separate from the consciousness. So all this connection of the nature of mind is starting from the chitta and leading up to the senses. So right from there, chitta, mind, intellect, ego, and everything goes back to this chitta. So in the Sukshma Sarira, or in the next course of these two koshas that we have, they are referring to the chitta now. So Vijnanamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha. All the things related to our likes, dislikes, fears, desires, in all states of consciousness, all these things are coming into the Manomaya Kosha. There is a huge range of the happening of the things in the Manomaya Kosha. So this is where somewhere and the modern medicine has not reached fully to see that if I am totally upset, in my Manomaya Kosha some disturbance has happened, and then I put food into it, then what is going to happen with that? Then the whole disturbance in the digestion will occur from here. So the Manomaya Kosha is that level of our awareness where very small phenomena of all the emotions will influence every single thing that happens into our life. If I am extremely excited, in that excited form also what will happen to my mind, what will happen to my all the emotions will result my energy body or the pranic body, and then it will influence my physical body. So emotions, mainly fear. So from the psychological or yogic perspective, the emotions that are very vital for our health of the Manomaya Kosha are to deal with the emotions of fear, anger, and resentment. So all these emotions are directly influencing our physical and energy bodies. So in the Manomaya Kosha, then the practices like all the practices of working with the mind comes into the play here. Especially starting with the withdrawal of senses. So we have all the pratyahar practices. That's where we begin to work with the Manomaya Kosha. So we are working with our senses for dharana, for the pratyahar point of view, and then all these painful emotions, also the like joy, compassion, these all the emotions are going and influencing to our internal systems. So the Manomaya Kosha will be also going into the same dimension. Then the fourth one is in the same subtle body is Vijnanamaya Kosha. It is the insight or wisdom faculty of buddhi, intellect of the mind that allows us for the discrimination of what is this and what is that. Means the Vijnanamaya Kosha is discriminative faculty. It just gives the clarity to this is this and this is this. So in a way, it is something which is discriminating faculty, saying it is good or it is bad. For example, to understand that, from Manomaya and Vijnanamaya, what can be the difference? If you are sick and if you take a medicine, and especially if it is an Ayurvedic medicine, the powder ones, if you have been here and if you have taken those powders or some other kinds of medicines prepared in Ayurveda, they are extremely bitter in the taste. However, they always say, okay, take it with honey or some other sweetener or something else is attached to it. But now, your mind, Manomaya aspect, which is like and dislike, oh, I like it, I don't like it. So then people say, I like to take the tablets of Ayurvedic medicine because I take it and then drink water and it's gone easy. And I dislike to take the powder because that is not so easy palatable, not so easy to swallow it. Now, if you have some disease or some illness, then to correct that, you need to have this bitter one or some other kind of treatment system, which is, of course, it is not likable for you. Then which one decide, which kosha or which seat or which aspect of you comes into the awareness? Then it is the buddhi says, the intellect says, the Vijnanamaya Kosha says, have this medicine because it will help you to cure. Manomaya Kosha says, no, I don't like it. And then buddhi says, you like it or you don't like it. Just don't taste it. So when you put it on your tongue, then you don't swallow, you don't chew it. Take it and then drink water without tasting it. Don't even give clue to your taste buds where they will say, oh, I don't like it, it's not palatable. So buddhi means Vijnanamaya Kosha, that buddhi aspect is instructing the Manomaya one, take it. And then you start to see the change in the energy, means Prana Kosha, which will result into the gross physical body that next 2 days, 3 days after taking this medicine, you are able to stand and you can see the difference. So this is how they are communicating. The Vijnanamaya Kosha means that is this aspect of our being which is higher in a certain sense, which can disassociate and can have a higher perspective to life. So Manomaya Kosha, in a way, you can say it is the lower aspect of the mind, where all our, the emotions, grudges, likes, dislikes, and these things are dominant in deciding on any actions you take. But when your Vijnanamaya Kosha is functional, or when we start to give power to this Vijnanamaya Kosha, then it's much easier to take right decisions, not based on the emotion only. So your emotion is saying that this is better, or you're liking or disliking saying it is not easy, not palatable. Then your Vijnanamaya Kosha comes and it says, because it is something different than that. And it has that faculty of discrimination to show the things that this is it and this is that. So this is the Vijnanamaya Kosha's understanding. And the Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha, if we see that sutra in the Yoga Sutras, then we can see that when they are saying Chitta, then in this Chitta, all these things are associated. Chitta, Vritti, and Nirodha. Now we go to the last aspect, that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the Anandamaya Kosha. And Anandamaya Kosha is that bliss body which is connected to the causal body. It is the realm of spirit. It is the realm of where everything goes back to the deeper dimensions of our being, which is not influenced by any of these external causes. It is there. It is this aspect of our being. When we touch to it, we are blissful. Remember, it is all separate from Brahman yet. Even this Anandamaya Kosha is not Brahman. Anandamaya Kosha is that possibility that from here, all these three bodies, the causal body, the subtle body, and all that, they all are fueled through this knowledge of Brahman. The knowledge of that source, the ultimate source of all that which is behind this plane. So it is an experience of bliss and spirit where we have some realization of who we are. And then there is a clarity to the. So these are all the ideas of joy, bliss, oneness. Then we start to talk in these terms of spiritual understanding. Then we are touching to that bliss body. And in this bliss body, there is a sense of completion of being one, and that is where you remember that that is the final destinations. All these koshas are fused in each other in the form of envelopes, and each one is covering to the another one. Now, one misunderstanding that may happen regarding this is, again, because the mind always sees the things in separation or in the parts, then you will see, okay, this is my blissful body. Now, if I touch my finger to my hand, then do I touch my Annamaya Kosha only? No. This is where we need to understand that it is not, because from the beginning we are talking about the wholeness. Whole means total, means everything simultaneously. When I touch my finger to my hand, then it is not that I am touching to the gross body only. Means that this Anandamaya Kosha is not something somewhere deep. Of course, in this same Upanishad, they are saying that where is this Brahman? This Brahman is in the cave. And where is this cave? That this cave is deep somewhere into your intellect, buddhi. So in that sense, there are many layers and this deep cave, and inside that cave is Brahman. And there are many layers to it. But when we are seeing this concept of the koshas, then we don't limit ourselves only in this basis that when I touch something, then I am only touching the Annamaya Kosha. Because in every single cell there is bliss body. So the reminder, if you remember that one of the reasons that these kosha theories are useful for us to remembrance of the final thing. That I am that bliss. And that bliss is everywhere. Wherever I touch myself, and this is where they are saying you are touching to the Brahman. So in this kosha format, practical application of this kosha format is very helpful to give this expansion to our consciousness where we may be fixated at one point somewhere. When we bring this multifaceted awareness of our being, then this koshas helps us to expand that limit. The practical application or bridging this whole gap is to see that in this whole kosha format, where I am fixated, people has some kind of fixation into some part of themselves. So it will be very interesting observation to see that where in this body or in this kosha understanding I am identifying with, and then expand that awareness and break that that fixation. In this way, we are able to bring the clarity on the higher perspectives. So, which question? The imbalances or diseases that can arise, they originate in the inner two koshas. So in Manomaya and Vijnanamaya koshas, mainly Manomaya kosha is related to all the psychological issues that arise due to the fear, anger, so anxiety, depression, and all these things are this interplay of all the emotions. So in the form of relationships, in the form, whatever the things that may cause there. So difficult to say, but now, as I said, even in the difficult to pinpoint, because you see, okay, Annamaya Kosha. In Annamaya Kosha, body image problems. No, but this body image problem may has happened somewhere in the Manomaya Kosha also. Because somewhere deep down as a child, I get this negative information that you are ugly, you are not beautiful, you are too tall, you are too short. Manifestation can be the eating disorder, dislike, hate to the body, but so you remember health and illness, they begin at the subtle level. So when we see then all actually, if you see, all diseases begin at Vijnanamaya or Manomaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya Kosha means here much more. Here complete faulty intellect. So in Charak Samhita, there is very beautiful sentence. They have said, all diseases arise due to the faulty function of intellect. So all diseases begin where? All diseases begin at the intellect, means Vijnana Kosha. So karma is also associated everywhere. Karma is in your physical body, karma is in, but mainly the karmas are coming from chitta, means it comes from the causal body. They are transmigrating in the causal form. And then when we come into this life and we have this chitta, then they start to manifest. It is in the Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then they come locally into the physical body. So karmas do fit into this whole system because karmas are directly connected to the causal, subtle, and the gross body. So all the manifestations that happens, so this transmigration, it will continue to go with you in the causal form. So everything is condensed from this life. Then you come to the next life. You have all this chitta, all this mind functioning, and then it starts to manifest at the subtle level. And that's where all the practices of yoga and how to break that. The question is more important. How can we break those karmic cycles and patterns is this, that when they start to manifest, and if you have enough slaps in the life, then you start to practice yoga. And then we start to see those patterns. And then I decide not to identify with them. From that moment, I start to break it. In this life, the problem is body image, overeating, not eating, whatever anorexia or forget the names of the problems, but whatever is, it is the physical manifestation, but it has come here. Now you saw, oh my God, I am Brahman, I am that bliss. Then I don't have to identify myself with this physical body and I don't have to do so many surgeries of it. I am totally accepting myself. So you start to correct from the Vijnana Kosha itself. Discrimination, seeing I am not this body, I am not this pranic body, I am not this mind, and then I am this bliss, and that's where we start to break this chain. So chitta and manas are, chitta is the most source, the big one, and manas is part of chitta. Manas has different functions, but chitta is broad. In chitta, everything comes, even the buddhi comes, ahamkara, ego comes. Everything refers to chitta. And that's where we carry and transmigrate all these karmic patterns with our chitta from one life to another. So in this way, these koshas are helpful from therapeutical point of views. Many therapies, we can see the application of the koshas when we are going to have any kind of therapy and understand our own frameworks. Now, framework because helpful for the self-observation that in this whole scheme of presentation where I am fixated. And then start to bring awareness to that area and not fixing at one point only, but to have this free flow. Very balanced or balanced approach to the body, then energies, the higher energies, the lower energies, emotions. Emotions can be very nice, beautiful, you are happy, excited, but at the same time, you see that negative aspect or the lower aspect of your being, and then seeing the intellectual aspect. Intellectual not from the lower thinking. In thinking is not intellect, but it is that discriminative faculty which is helpful to see the things in right perspective. So it is contributing everywhere. Remember, we are multifaceted being. Three things, if you remember, then wherever is confusion, we can easily navigate. You are multifaceted being, Everything begins at the subtler level. So whatever I experience, it must have happened. It is manifestation of something. It was already there. And then remembrance of the final destination, that I am not this, I am not this. So this is how all the Taittiriya Upanishad, you study it separately, but I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, and then I am this. All this is a sequence, and we have to flow in that sequence. When I need to take care of my body in the right perspective, in a proper sense, then I do take care of it. So Shaucha, according to the Patanjali's Niyamas, can be very confusing. Oh, I'm clean inside my heart. I don't have to clean my body. So when you do the Ashtanga Vinyasa practice and you go and get adjusted by someone and you have these dirty feet, then it's not so nice. So please clean your feet, even though we understand your heart is very pure. So having this very clear understanding that I know you are so lovely, you're so nice, but if you walk barefoot and there's nothing wrong with it, please clean your feet when you enter into the classroom, or when we are working with our bodies and touching and doing something with it. So in that sense, not fixating at some point. If it comes to take care of the body, of course we have to take care, remember about the food, and if you can have the vegan, perfect. If you are not, reduce the amount of intake of that food which is not desirable, because this body is sacred. Also, so much of identification, then we go back to the another. In the same way, the energetic aspect, oh, when I met this person, I felt so weird energy. You have to see your energy can be weird too. Not always going and bombarding on the other person. Oh, this place, I went there and the energy was so weird. Perhaps you were in a weird energy that day and you identify with it. Same is with the emotions, that I feel very upset, very low in my mood. And you know, you have all those fluctuations in the emotions. Someday you go and hug your partner, you say, I love you, and you're so nice. And the next moment, you just change your face, and then the same loving person converts into something else, which you don't want to see and stay with and talk. So this is all expression of our various koshas dominance, that I am dominant at this time, in this kosha, in this particular manner now, but not forgetting the ultimate, that I am not merely this, but I have this free flow in being. So at least now, practical thing, seeing this fixation as well, then if you are already, because we all practice, so in the practice, at the end, there is silence. There is, means drop of all the theories, all the frameworks, all these understanding, and just being into that silence is that remembrance and connecting to the bliss body. And then, which is very close to the Brahma. So this experience, they say, is possible when we reach there, into that cave of the heart, or buddhi. In different commentaries and text, this cave is described differently. Okay, I think this is all for today. Thank you very much.